Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. All right, so today I have Jessica Parker on the line, and she's president over at Wise Bites LLC. Jessica, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Adam.
All right, so today's topic, we're going to be talking about AI. This has been one of my favorite topics to cover for a while now, and I know it's not going anywhere, so we're going to get into that and more. But just to get us kicked off here, Wise Bites LLC. So tell me the story and how this got started.
You know, with Wise Bites itself, I was thinking about how so much information has been coming at us so quickly. It's overwhelming for most people. It happens that my brain sucks up information like a sponge. I read over 350 books in an average year. I'm currently working on my doctorate and doing a ton of research on AI and cybersecurity.
Wait a minute, 300
and I wanted to get things beyond.
Hold on,
yes.
We can't skip through that. We're in that stage. Like, how do you, are you a professional reader? I say that in a nice way. Like, how do you do that?
So I've been an avid reader since I was a little kid. I enjoyed going to the library. My mother and I would go to the library. My grandmother and I would go to the library. I would
What's your
consume
earliest
books.
memory at the library? I'm so curious about that statement, about that answer to that question. What's your earliest memory going to the library with the family?
I remember my mother and I walking to the library in downtown Santa Fe, New Mexico, and it must have been 1977, I'm going to guess, 76 or 77. We walked to the library, which is this really old building. I remember it being gray. I don't know why my brain remembers it as gray. It might be more of an adobe brown because it's Santa Fe. But it's this very old historic building. The thing about the library is it doesn't cost you anything to get this knowledge. Mm-hmm. There's no limit. No one's going to say, you can't afford to get this book. You can get as many books as you want. At that point in my life, my mother and I were struggling financially. It was just the two of us, and she was trying to take care of me on her own. That was a challenge in the 70s. Going to the library meant I could get as much as I wanted. It was like a big reward, a massive treat. And by starting reading at an early age, we'd go to the library every week. I could always go back for more. There was no limit. I would read and read and read, and like any other thing, if you do it a lot, you become much more proficient at it.
Wow, what a great story! I had to get that from you because funny story on my end. So that's how how little kids get allowance, right? Like do some chores.
Yeah.
So in my household growing up, you did chores just to that's just part of being part of the family. But if I wanted allowance, I had to read a book and write a book report, and that's how I got my allowance. So that's a fun story. So I started, I'm a pretty avid reader too, and at one point I didn't even own a TV for, 10, 15 years of my life, literally, not even a TV, one screen in the house other than my phone and my laptop, of course, but for work, but I didn't even own a TV. But I remember thinking I just was a reader. So when I heard that, I'm like 300 something. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. That's that's living the dream, Jessica. How do you find time for Wise Bites? Like, talk to me about this AI and how you're kind of how you've gone down that path. That's amazing.
Well, it occurred to me, and I think it was after a conversation I had at a conference about my reading where somebody suggested perhaps I was doing it wrong if I was reading that many, which I thought was quite funny. I'm like, but I read this many books because that's how my brain is wired. I didn't find out till I was over 50 that apparently I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which means that your brain is processing a lot of information really quickly, and it gets addicted to things. My brain's addicted to learning. That's where my brain gets its novelty and its thrill. Because that's how I'm wired, if I'm not learning, I stop functioning.
Wow.
So that addiction to learning is unique to how my brain works, which, again, I didn't understand that fully until I was over 50. With that understanding, I also recognized that that's not how other people's brain works, and I could provide a useful service. I can take all this information that I've gathered, that I'm continuously learning and building upon, and translate it into understandable information that's in little bite-sized portions, little bites of wisdom, hence wise bites.
Wow, so you had
Instead
an
of having it,
superpower.
yeah,
You had an actual
yeah,
superpower. How they talk about that sometimes. Sometimes it's
yes.
true. Sometimes it helps you. Sometimes it's other things. But and you obviously became, you're an academic as well. So this like focus. And so how does the AI side? How does this play into it all? How does this mix?
Well, one of the things I've been doing as part of my doctoral research is I've been focusing on the intersection of AI and cybersecurity. I've learned a lot of kind of horrifying statistics, including that 9 out of every 10 U.S. organizations are at risk of experiencing a cyber attack within a year that will result in significant financial loss. 9 out of 10. So what are the odds that's not going to be you? That's scary. Organizations that are smaller, that don't have a robust and deep bench of cybersecurity and technology professionals, don't know what they don't know. They don't understand the impacts. They don't understand the risks they're taking. I wanted to bring that forward to folks, help share the fact that it's a risk and you can do something about it without being a technology expert. Here's the plain language, no jargon.
So if somebody's, let's say you haven't used AI, or maybe you're using it and you don't even know you're using it, right? Because it's embedded in so many things now that I feel it's hard that most people haven't used it. But people are benefiting from it. But let's just say, from the business owner standpoint, let's just take it from that standpoint. If somebody's never used it, how can they use it? How should they be thinking about using it in their organizations?
One of the things I recommend organizations start with is start with something small. You want to figure out what's your pain points, what's a consistent and repeatable process, something that you do over and over again that takes up time. And when you reflect upon it, it doesn't require a lot of your deep expertise. The place I started with it was my content management. It's an easy place because you're going to review the output every time. You need to review the output from generative AI tools in particular. Much as when you query your Maps application for a route to get from point A to point B. You look at that route to make sure that's the one you want to take because you might know something the tool doesn't. Okay, that road's closed today only, or there's an event that's going to block that. I need to choose an alternate route. That's AI. You've used it. Similarly, when you're using it for content management, you're going to put in a prompt, which is a set of instructions, directions that you want the tool to follow in something like a ChatGPT, Gemini, any of those tools that you can start using for free, and you're going to ask it to create something. I usually ask it to give me several suggestions or several variations because usually the right answer is none of the above, but rather a combination of the multiple suggestions it provides. Gives me choices. It beats the heck out of a blank page when you're trying to create a social media post.
Yeah, I can see that. And one of the things that I want to also focus on while we have some time here is you mentioned the cybersecurity part and the risk for attack. Now, while I don't like to scare everybody, I do want to talk a little bit longer about this because it is a reality. And so if somebody isn't thinking about that or how to even use AI or otherwise to protect their businesses, what should they be thinking about specifically in that niche or in that area, and how does that work?
I would recommend that they start by securing their systems. So if you're using a password like 123, we need to talk. You want to have strong passwords, enable multi-factor.
Use passwords like that?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, I'm not no disrespect to anybody that's out there like, oh yes, Adam, you're talking to me, but come on, you gotta step it up at this point, right? At least make it a little difficult for the people that are trying to attack. But please continue. I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, it's real. There's a list of the most common passwords out there. The hackers have it. If your password's on it, you need to change your password. You want to have a strong password, as you noted. You want to enable multi-factor authentication. If it's possible to enable it, enable it. Because if you're not doing that, all they need is your password to get into the system. With multi-factor authentication, they need your password and that second factor. That gives you an extra layer of protection. Again, this doesn't require a cybersecurity engineer to do it. You can check a box or select that option within your settings. When you have sensitive data, consider first, do you need to have that sensitive data, say payment information? If you do need to both, if you need to both collect it and store it, consider encrypted offline storage. If it's offline and it's encrypted, it's that much harder to get at. Even if it's online, if you can encrypt it, it makes it that much harder to access. With encrypted storage, you can buy a USB drive that will encrypt it for you. Again, no software engineering skills required. You don't need a technical degree. It's, hey, you put in a password, it takes care of the rest. Then when you're working with AI tools, you want to stick with reputable platforms. The bad actors, if you will, have created fake tools or real tools modified to include malware. You want to use the real tools from the big name providers who have a reputation to keep your data safe. And oh, by the way, don't put anything in a public AI tool you wouldn't want on a billboard, because that information will be shared.
Interesting.
Because they train on your data and it goes right back.
And I feel like people don't usually take that into account, right? Like that's just not what people are thinking about.
Right. You sign into your account and you think it's your information and that you are the only one accessing it. What happens in reality is every conversation with these public AI tools especially, you're putting the information in, it's going back to their server, coming back to you, and it's being used to train the system further. That's why it's free. Because it's not really free. The price you're paying is you're helping train and tune those AI tools so that they become that much better over time.
Yeah.
There's always a price.
So smart and so right. Yeah, so right. So I know people are listening to this right now. And they're like, whoa, okay. Some people are like, okay, I knew that, but this is a good reminder. Other people are like, you just brand new information. They've never, they're not connected to learning, let's say, like you are. So they're not thinking about it all day. Like myself included. I loop myself into that group. I learn about when I'm doing an interview with someone like yourself. So that being said, I know there's so much more you have to give, especially along the sides of security and AI and otherwise. Wise Bites. How do people follow up? How do they connect? How do they work with your company?
Well, if listeners want to get started and work with me, I have a ton of free information and resources on my website at wisebitesllc.com, spelled exactly like it sounds with no funky characters. People can talk through their specific situation with me by clicking the link to schedule a free consultation, because I recognize that every business is different and generic solutions just don't work when your legacy is on the line.
Wonderful. For everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes so you can just click on the links and head right on over and connect with Jessica and her team. And speaking to the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way in your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Jessica, thanks again for coming on the show. It's really been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Adam. I've enjoyed it as well.